Why Japan's 20 billion floating airport is sinking. Have you ever flown from a floating airport? If you have, how did it feel like? If you haven't, will you consider flying from a floating airport if you had the opportunity? But how safe can a floating airport be? Let's take a look at the famous Japanese floating airport and see why it is not 100% safe anymore. But before we dive right into this video, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Japan is undoubtedly and indisputably the city of technology, ranging from its tall glorious standing skyscrapers in Yokohama to its fast-flying bullet trains, and even its state-of-the-art recreational facilities are symbols of marvels that the world will continue to admire. When it initially proposed building a floating airport and started construction in 1987, the world thought it would be impossible, but yet again this technology giant proved the world wrong and brought this idea to reality. But this massive innovative airport might just be at the verge of sinking for some spectacular reasons. Would you love to know why? If you would love to know why, make sure you continue watching this video till the end and hit the like button. The airport is called the Kansai International Airport, located in Osaka Bay, and it was constructed in a way that allow minimum level of sinking, but unfortunately, it has gone beyond the sinking expectation, just enough to be considered dangerous and constitute risk. So far, $12 billion have been spent to curb this sinking disaster. The airport was supposed to cost $8 billion, though the Japanese Ministry of Aviation and Transportation has spent about $20 billion just to make it minimal floating potential possible and input repairs and maintenance. So far they have implemented several techniques to keep the airport floating. The vision of this airport started with the creation of an artificial island that covers 511 hectares of land, as the Japanese government had various consideration in mind, some of which includes the environmental disaster associated with building an airport close to residential buildings, billions that will be spent relocating citizens, factories, industries, and other factors. They filled that portion of the sea with sand and then fitted 2.2 million 16 inches vertical pipes that contain moisture-absorbing sand into the seabed. After this, 180 million cubic meters of rock and soil were added to the layer of sand. Then 48,000 concrete tetrapods were used to surround the foundations and walls of the island as a form of protection to push back sea waves and surges. 69 steel chambers were used to construct the perimeter of the island, with tetrapods placed in between them. After these measures, more soil was added to bring the island to 65 feet above sea level, and then work started on the terminals and runway. A $1 bill and 3 kilometers bridge connecting the airport to the commercial town of Rincon was built in 1990. This bridge and airport was supposed to be open for use in 2014, but financial setbacks caused delays. The initial source of funding for the construction of this airport had a $560 million annual interest rate during its first few years. Renzo Piano was the top-choice Italian architect that worked on this airport's terminal design. Initially the government actually considered building a short terminal, but Piano insisted on a 1.7 kilometers long terminal which was adhered to. This terminal is the longest in the world. After realizing that it was sinking and has sunk 8 feet, already, construction began to modify its runway and terminal in 2003. In fact, a second island was constructed with the same specification as the first one, but with reconsidered and adjusted measurements. The reason for this airport was due to the fact that tourists visiting the country increased tremendously, and there was pressure on the already existing airports. Besides, Japan wanted this to become a gateway to Asia. They wanted to compete with famous airport in Hong Kong and South Korea. With a cost of over $15 billion, this is the world's most expensive civil construction in history. Although engineers speculated that these floating airports will sink 19 to 25 feet and later settle at 13 feet above sea level, which is the exact minimum level that can withstand flooding, and before the island will get to this particular feat, it is expected to take 50 years, but it came just too quickly considering the number of years and the billions and resources invested. And the major reason for this sinking is as a result of engineering miscalculation. In 2000, a portion of the first Kansai airport had already sunk 13 feet below sea level, engineers have speculated another 13 feet. Sinking reaching sea level in 2056, and in response to this, Japan spent more than $150 million to avoid this. They have raised the airport's wall above sea level. As at 1999, the island has sunk up to 27 feet. Instead of the speculated 19 feet, engineers added more sand and metal plated below the hydraulic plates to raise the level of the passenger terminal and create a 900-column foundation. This foundation column was now raised step by step in stages, reducing the sinking rate. The hydraulic jack that lies below the airport undergoes adjustment biannually. Furthermore, meters were installed on the columns to measure the tilting of the airport and act swiftly to redeem a total collapse. Another threat to the length of existence of this airport is unpredictable climate change. In 2018, the airport was hit by Typhoon Jebi, which led to a very high rise in sea level, resulting in water entering the airport. Activities in the airport were then suspended. It was recorded that water entered the engines of some of the planes. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like it, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell. You could also leave a comment. Thank you for watching.